Off the opening tip, Ray Allen did not practice with the Celtics today after rolling his ankle in the fourth quarter before his game winner in Charlotte Saturday night. And great news, a huge sigh of relief in Denver. The MRI on Kenyon Martin's right knee reveals only a bone bruise. Meanwhile, Phoenix and Golden State at it at this moment. Steve Nash, 15 points, 8 assists in the first half. Stoudemire couldn't connect there. Baron Davis on the other end with Nash on him. Freedom in the paint, Jalen. And the Warriors are up 90-79. We'll keep you updated throughout this episode of NBA Fast Break. I'm Matt Weiner. You heard Jalen Rose's voice there momentarily. Tim Legler is with us as well. This 90-79, it's early third quarter there. By the time the show is over, we could be in the 120s.
It'll come down to a late stop, Matt. Whoever gets a late stop.
Also happening out west, a couple of potential MVP candidates. Tim Duncan is playing as we speak, as is Dwight Howard, who is putting up as good a numbers on a very good team as anybody in the league right now. Howard and his team in Portland against LaMarcus Aldridge and the Blazers. This is Jarrett Jack, loose ball, looking for Aldridge. She's wide open, and really, he's hard to miss down there.
Yeah, definitely. My most improved player this year. I really like his development. He's getting more opportunities to play, especially with Greg Oden being out.
Rashard Lewis to Howard for the throwdown. Magic down one. In the third, Jalen, here's your guy, Aldridge, working on Lewis.
LaMarcus Aldridge, if you hadn't heard of this young fella, get to learn his name. LaMarcus Aldridge, that's right. Second-year pro, shoots a high percentage. He can run the floor. He can make the 15-foot jump shot. He can play with his back to the basket. And when you talk about the young players in Portland, Greg Oden, Brandon Roy, and now LaMarcus Aldridge really developing, the Portland Trailblazer fans have a future that's going to be very bright.
Blazers clinging to a one-point lead. It's Martell Webster's been active in this game. Finishes on the break there. And as we speak, the Magic have taken an 11-point lead. Remember, this team is 7-1 on the road. This is the first of a 5-game trip out west. At the moment, Howard just 9 points. Joel Prisbilla has done a nice job on him, getting in his way as much as anything. That's important defense. 10 rebounds, 3 blocks. But look at the numbers on Dwight Howard so far this season, and compare those to what he's done in his previous years, and particularly last year. You see a huge spike pretty much across the board. Tim, why is Dwight Howard's production up so significantly from just last year?
Well, I think a variety of reasons. First of all, it's his third year in the league. And I think that's when you really first start to feel comfortable as an NBA player, that you can do the things at this level that you used to do. For him at the high school level, that's certainly part of it. His physical maturity starts to come into play. But it's also about the parts now that are around him. You add a Rashard Lewis. Hedo Turkoglu is having a career year. These guys on the perimeter now means Dwight Howard gets more space in the paint to play one-on-one. And I think this guy, along with Amari Stoudemire, the two best athletes in the front court in the entire league. And I think he is the #2 MVP candidate in the league for me so far this year, 12-3, because of what he does for his team. He's led them in scoring in half their games, rebounding all but one. He's one of the best shot blockers in the league, and ridiculous, shooting over 70% the last 7 games. Dwight Howard is a beast. His numbers show it. The team shows it. But he's not the only young big guy in the league right now making some noise. We like to talk about those young big men.
Yeah, definitely. We talked earlier about LaMarcus Aldridge. With Greg Oden being out, this actually was a blessing in disguise for the Portland Trailblazers, because now this young guy gets more minutes playing power forward and center. He gets a chance to play with Brandon Roy, who sat at the NBA draft last year and was the lucky #1 in pulling Greg Oden. Now you have LaMarcus Aldridge getting a chance to develop. You see him down low with his back to the basket, shooting a hook. The young fella can run the floor. He shoots a high percentage. You really don't see that from young big men that shoot the jumper coming into the league, shooting a high percentage. I really like his game. I really love his development. This Portland Trailblazer team won't be in the playoffs, obviously, this year, but with their young players, their future is very bright.
The thing I love about him, too, is that he just is so confident that now, that this early in his career, he can do things offensively, off the dribble. Aldridge has been a big surprise, I think, early this year.
With his touch and his scoring and Oden's defense, it could be a really nice compliment for a very long time in Portland. All right, Let's go to Dallas. Wizards and Dirk Nowitzki's Mavericks. Mavericks on a 2-game losing streak. It has been more than a year since they lost 3 in a row. Nowitzki got right to work.
Yeah, early on, Dirk, this is a guy, he has not really put up the offensive numbers early this year, but certainly you're going to run pick and pop. Dirk Nowitzki's going to get an open look. He's as good as any open shooter in the league.
He had 17 in the first quarter. Mavs down a bucket here. This time, Nowitzki on the back cut. Jerry Stackhouse finds him, but the Wiz up by 2 at the break. Third quarter, the Wizards offense, still minus Gilbert Arenas, of course, gets itself going. Tied at 54, Eddie Jordan calls on Antonio Daniels for the back cut, and right over Sagana Diop, and 1. Caron Butler had a night, career high 5 3-pointers, Wizards up by 11. Butler on the drive, finishing.
If this guy's not playing in the All-Star game in February,
You're not going?
Then you're not going?
I'm boycotting.
You're going to boycott the All-Star game. You heard it here first. Jalen is boycotting the All-Star game if Caron Butler isn't there. He had 35 on the night, and the Mavericks suffer their first 3-game losing streak of the year on the same day. Avery Johnson was fined $25,000 by the league for his tirade Friday in Indiana. All right, so Tim, 14 games into the season, about a month ago. Let's put 24 seconds on the clock and ask you, how do these Mavericks compare with the 67-win first-round flopping team from last year?
Well, I know April seems like a long time ago, but it's really not. When you look around the rest of the league, I think the Dallas Mavericks have lost their edge a little bit in terms of what they do to teams when they walk on the floor. Last year, teams were intimidated by this team because not only were they one of the highest scoring offensive teams, they were also one of the top 2 or 3 defensive teams in the league. And I think what happened with Golden State, which basically just bullied the Dallas Mavericks and in a way punked them, I think teams now look at this team differently. That's why they lose to teams like Indiana and Milwaukee and Washington at home without Gilbert Arenas. They've lost their edge. They're not as good defensively this year. They're going to find themselves in trouble.
Avery Johnson called their effort spotty tonight after the game.
That's a good word.
It's a great word. I'm not even entirely sure what it means, but spotty.
You need some spot remover, I think is what they need right now, because they're not playing well at all.
Spot remover, not more spots.
You got to get the spot out of it.
All right, we'll get all that cleared up as we continue here on NBA Fast Break. Much more to come, including the leaders in the Western Conference when the night began. A familiar ring at the top of the standings. We'll ask the question, are the Spurs still the best team in the league? The New York Knicks with a chance to put together a bona fide win streak. On the night, Stephon Marbury had his best night of the season. We'll tell you how he impacted the game, plus a full week's worth of hoop heroes, including LeBron James.
Chicken.
Oh, Sayers was definitely hired, dude.
I'm gonna have to agree.
Fine. I mean, I've never heard of a bass player doing scissor kicks before, but...
You can't both do
No, you can't have 2 people in the same band both doing scissor kicks, dude. That would look absurd.
Well, why don't you just do the windmill?
Whatever, I'll do the windmill.
Rated T for T.